Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am Lori Monaco, the badass Buddha. My eyelashes are sticking together as I'm talking. I'm like, wait. They get like a delay. Love the mascara. And I am coming to you from a very cold and snowy southern Connecticut, where we got about, I don't know, like 15 inches of snow. And I'm like not even exaggerating. I think it really is like 15 inches of snow. I was out there shoveling this morning. I am the CEO of Align Yourself Inc. I am a chiropractic physician. I am an authenticity teacher. I specialize in mindfulness and transformation. I am a workshop facilitator. And yes, again, I am the badass Buddha. Good morning.
Buenos dias. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I'm sure that all the people up north either have a delay going to work. I know a lot of people left work early yesterday.
Oh, if you went in at all, because it started early, so some people didn't even go in at all.
So I'm glad everybody's safe. My son was calling me as he was sliding on the highway. Like I need that anxiety here in Florida. But yeah, so I'm glad people are safe. I'm glad, I always found beauty in the snow. Whenever it would snow and I was at Janet's or something, I would get up when they said it was starting to snow 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'll make my coffee and I'll stand outside because the silence is deafening when it's snowing, like real early in the morning and nobody's out, that you could almost hear every snowflake fall.
Is that your dog moving around in the background?
Unfortunately, it's very cold over here, so I'm inside.
Your new dog.
Yeah, I was gonna do my thing. Hello, everybody. I am La Margarita. I am the co-host of Viva. I am a co-host to Ajusta tu Corona. I am a spiritual and creative healing life coach, a caregiver to my aging mom, and now an owner of a 1-year-old pit bull named Diesel, who
can't seem to sit still.
No, because he's humping his pillow.
Oh, okay. Well,
but he's so beautiful. But if I let him out, he's gonna want to be wondering what I'm doing. He's like a Vita to you. He's constantly on me, looking at me.
Oh my
So
God.
Yeah, so all of that. Life is beautiful. We are in the 2nd month of the year.
Yes.
So let's make it happy and fulfilled. Fulfilled February should be our goal.
Fulfilled February.
Is this a short one? Is this a short month? Is it 28 or 29 days?
No, it's 28. It's 28. Good morning to Tiffany. Good morning to Michelle. Good morning to Denise. Hello.
Buenos dias. Good morning, Michelle. Houston, I have a pit bull named Diesel. And he's beautiful. He's like orange. I don't know what color to describe him.
Yeah, he is. He's orange and white. I guess that would be the color. I had a brindle one years ago. She was smart as hell, that dog. She used to scale fences. You couldn't even keep her in a fence. She would just grab onto the fence and scale up like a chain link fence, I'm saying. Not like, I mean, if it was a wooden like privacy fence, she couldn't have done it if it was too tall, but she would just like nothing.
See that, I don't know. I woke up the other day and I said, I need a dog. And I never would say that. Never.
Oh, you actually said it? I thought they just brought it over because.
No, I didn't tell nobody.
Oh my God, that's funny.
I went outside to get the mail and I looked around and I had this strong feeling. And then I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? A dog. And I don't know what it is. It's the universe giving me a sign. I didn't know it, taking care of mom, but all of a sudden, I'm not saying I'm gonna be a dog owner. I'm testing it. I'm testing it. So yes. So good morning. I'm glad you made it, Desiree.
Yes.
I'm glad you made it, Denise. How was your trip to Chicago? So buenos dias.
He seems like a good from the little bit that we were talking last night. He seems like a good boy. He's like already mellow, which is good for a 1-year-old. I mean, pits are like that, but some dogs, it takes them like 3-4 years to mellow out, like German Shepherds, and it takes them a while.
Yeah, but he likes to jump up.
Okay. Well, that'll only be problematic if he jumps up on you while you're holding your mom.
No, he actually yesterday when I did that, he just laid on the floor and watched.
They're really smart. I mean, they get such a bad reputation, but they're such brilliant dogs. So, okay. All right. Oh my God. Why am I'm like off today? I got up at 5:45. By 6 a.m. I was with all my snow gear on, and I was snow blowing the driveway. And although blowing sounds lovely, snow blowing, actually blowing really doesn't, it's really not lovely overall. No matter what context you're using it in, but snow blowing the driveway, I actually like clearing snow. It doesn't really bother me.
When it's soft though, right?
Yeah, it is. And it is very soft. And, but again, we're talking about snow, right?
Yes.
Because the other thing I don't like when that's soft. But anyway, the I like clearing the snow. I think I love the fresh air. I love the exercise. And I also love doing that at night. Snow blowing, clearing snow at night. The other thing, could do it any time of the day, but night, morning, whatever. But like, I don't know, there's something very peaceful when it's dark. So at 6 a.m. it was still kind of dark. It was nice. It was like this, it was just starting to get light. It was very quiet out. Nobody else was out. And I'm snow blowing the driveway, and I have to clear an area for the dogs because the little one cannot walk there was just so much snow. So, it's pretty. Yeah, I mean, some people don't like it because they say it's like such an inconvenience, but it's you live here. Snow is inconvenient. You just have to, if you expect it the inconvenience, then it's not so inconvenient anymore, I suppose, right?
I don't think it would be inconvenient. It's part of Mother Nature, especially where it's coming from.
Right.
I think when you go out there early and it's quiet and the snow is, I think it's like that early morning is whispering to you. You got this. I mean, you got up, you got dressed, you went out in the cold to blow snow. That already jump started your day to be very productive,
Sure.
And so I think that's all of that. I think the snow's always beautiful. I remember having to shovel it many years ago. I think it gets ugly throughout the day when the cars go on it. So
yes. And when it stays too long, like I like this is nice, but I want it to melt in like a week and then, onward. I get tired of it sitting there after a while. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Yeah, I do. Cause I mean, it's pretty, but it's just, I like to be outdoors. I like to be moving and doing stuff. And, I love skiing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love winter sports. I love, tubing, if that's even a winter sport. I mean, I love doing that stuff. I get bored of it though. I don't like having to layer up all the time.
So you like the snow when it belongs to somebody else that you'll pay to play on their snow, but you don't like the snow in front of your house.
No, I like the snow in front of my house. I do. What I'm saying is that after a certain point, you know what? I'm going to take that back. As long as I prepare properly, like, so I have to get to certain areas of my yard. So I have to like snow blow paths, So as long as I keep up with it, it's fine. It's when I don't do it and then it snows on top of,
Yeah,
it gets frustrating, but that's on me. So yeah, I take that back. I do love the snow. I don't like, it's the cold, because you could be out there with the snow and it's like 35 degrees out there and I'm fine. Like, I don't mind layering up. It's when it starts to tip below, like, I don't know, 20, 28. That's when it really gets uncomfortable. And I feel like I can't do anything. I can't even go out for a walk.
Oh my God! But we got people talking. Jonathan said something. Good morning, jobs that blow. Ah, you started that, badass Buddha. Good
Yes, Marie
morning.
says it becomes inconvenient and dangerous. It can be dangerous, absolutely. Snow is beautiful when it first falls. Nancy Green. And Michelle says when you aren't well and you have no help, it's not as fun, and it sure is beautiful, though. My parents have 43 inches in Vermont. Oh, my God. Yeah, you're right, Michelle. I mean, I'm grateful the fact that I can go out, and somebody could say, oh, you have a snowblower, makes it easier. It sure does. But it still is, it's work to push a snowblower, and especially with this amount of snow. But oh my God, if I had to do it with a shovel, would I had to get my ass up a hell of a lot earlier to be able to do it. So
Or it wouldn't get done.
that's right. Well, it would get done at some point, but I needed to get it done by a certain time. So I have a really busy day today, so I wasn't going to be able to do it after the show. That's why I got up early, but it feels good. It feels good. So yes, good morning, Jonathan. Nancy Green, good morning. Editha's on, good morning. Editha's declaring it's her last winter. It's her last winter. And then Jonathan said it's worse when you keep getting plowed in. Yes, when the plows go. You just clean, you're standing there with the shovel all proud, and then here comes the plow, and they throw it right back on. I think they do it. I think they get off on that. I really
Yes, and Nancy says it's a pain to layer your clothes. I love layering because it's easy when you're uncomfortable. You just take it off. Here in Florida, when you're hot, you're hot. Either you got to come home and take a shower,
Yes.
and do everything all different. At least over there, as you start getting warmer, you start removing your layer. I love that. I used to love it. That's one thing I miss is dressing with the scarves and the sweaters and the turtlenecks. I love turtlenecks.
No turtleneck in the 50-degree Florida weather?
No. I just feel like I feel obnoxious to even put a sweatshirt on here if I'm going outside. Like it's Florida, yeah, it's cold, and I'll put my sweater on and I'll do this, but I don't know. I see people with the big bubble jackets and the fur boots, and I'm like, what the fuck? We're in the South. It's cold, but it ain't that cold. Like you're not even getting snow or sleet. You're getting a colder breeze than normal, but yeah.
That's what you get used to. You know, that's what it is. You get used to that. So, all right, let's get moving because this is a really good week. So we have a lot of ways this month that we're going to celebrate Black Heritage Month, and we're going to start off the conversation with talking about uncomfortable conversations. And the reason that Gladiator Guru and I came up with this topic had to do with the conversation that we had on another show where like she called me out because like I stuttered saying something that like I stuttered on a word because I felt uncomfortable to say the word, and then she said something behind it, and then it made me feel even worse, like, oh my God, did I say something wrong? And then we had a conversation about it afterwards because I felt like I was like, oh my God, I felt really bad, blah, blah, blah. And we thought that this would be a really good conversation because there are uncomfortable conversations that need to happen, but we still feel very uncomfortable about having them. So we're gonna do a part 1 and part 2. We're gonna talk today about diversity, and then on Thursday with our guest Liza Tuck, we're gonna talk about race relations, respect, and accountability. But before we get into that, we want to do our intention. We want to do our mantra and remind you that Friday is Viva Moms After Dark on Blog Talk Radio, Word of Mom Radio. So just all you got to do is, click on the link. You can listen to us 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Friday. So you get three times this week. You get to hear us, and we're hoping that for those that are awake or those of you that don't listen that often because you're on the West Coast, this is your chance to get a little dose of us in real time. And we have numbers where you can even be part of the show. You can call in, right?
Yes. Michelle says she shoveled 4 times. Iris says it's real cold in Tampa at night, just during this season, I think, not normally. It cooled off. It was warm a couple days ago, and then it's like in the low 30s at night.
But that's going to be reasonable, though, isn't that?
Yeah. It's then we'll get we'll get like sometimes only 3 days of cold weather, and then it's like 80 to 90 degrees. So yeah, but yeah, so this is wonderful. I am drinking Brazilian blend, Brazil natural coffee today, and I love it. So that's my taza de café. The aroma is delicious. Like you already like foaming when you smell it being brewed. You're like, oh my god, oh my god. You know when
Have
you
you
want to
ever
get
had that brand before?
no, not this one. And so that's good. It's a little light, but it's delicious. I got to go add some more black coffee as you can go on and say when you talk about your coffee, please. But it's really good. So I'll send you some, Laura.
Oh, okay, great.
And I have it. What cup do you have today?
I didn't get the beehive. I had this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the feel of this one, so I use this one a lot. Plus, I love hearts. I like any reason to have a heart or a tree of life. But this one's got like a good weight to it. Isn't that interesting too? Right? It's not even. It's the coffee and the cup. It's just like a glass of wine. Like you can have a wine, but you also want to have a nice glass. But the cup also makes a difference too. And we mention cup, we don't talk about like that piece of it too. You know, does it keep it hot enough, long enough? You know, does it savor the flavor? Oh, that's nice. Poet and I didn't know it. Is it the right weight? You know, the right feel on your lips when you touch the rim? When you gently put your lips on the rim of the coffee cup?
Of the coffee cup, exactly.
What's the matter with me this morning?
But let me tell you that you're absolutely right. Like in anyone who comes to my house, and if I'm staying at your house, I carry the rule with me. Like in Janet's house, they used to look at me like I was stupid, but they still did what I said. Like no one is allowed to take a coffee mug in my house and put juice in it or water in it or anything other than coffee. I would literally take the cup out. There has been people, they're like, what? I said, you're having coffee? I would literally take the mug out. You don't drink anything but coffee in my mugs. I'm like a stickler for that. Yes. But that only brought, because it's true. Like you can drink wine in a little copa that you would normally take a clean shot of rum in or whiskey or a shot glass with the tequila, but you can't drink wine like and enjoy it in any other mug but a pretty wine glass.
That's true. That's true. That's funny. You know what? It's true. It feels weird to pour a wine into a regular cup.
Yeah, it's not good. Oh, Ana Laura, mi amor. Yeah. How are you? Yes, it is. Keep talking. I'm just gonna go get some hot coffee, please.
So my coffee this morning is, I think it's Campfire brand. It's pretty good. I'm so weird with my coffee. I don't really, there's certain coffees that I've tried that are just people really like, and then I'm not a big fan. So this one's not too bad. I still am reeling on the one that was, what was it? The Godiva one. Oh my God, that coffee was so freaking good. It was, you would brew it, and it was just the smell alone was absolutely fantastic. So if you like flavored coffee, remember I'm the flavored coffee person. Gladiator Guru is the direct coffee person. Like she is au natural with her coffee. I am more of the flavored coffee person. So, and I don't like real dark roasted coffee either. So, so that if you like that type of coffee, if you like lighter coffee, like flavored coffee, the Godiva coffee, I definitely recommend the chocolate. Actually, that one was creme brulee or something like that. It was unbelievable. Desari says, LOL, true, though. It does matter so much. I like the inside of the mug to be white so I can see the color of my coffee when I put the cream in, and it has to be the right color. That's so funny. My father's the same way. He can't stand when a coffee cup is dark. It really bothers him. So he has to only drink from certain coffee cups. I can go either way. I need my coffee, but it's so cold I don't want to go into the kitchen.
Anna, you got a cup. Anna lives in Orlando, but we all met in Bridgeport. So
Anita says you're a control freak. I'm assuming she's referring to you, Gladiator Guru. she just likes what she likes, but she has a point, it is, that's what it's for. It's a hot mug, I admit I use mine for other things, hot cider, tea.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I just can't. I can't. I don't know why. I just can't. That's how much coffee is to me. Like, only coffee, please. Tea, and I have certain ones for tea because the tea tend to stain the inside of mugs. So a certain one. But anywho, who has the mantra today?
You have the mantra. I have the intention. So the intention for today is show compassion to all humans without judgment. So I will show compassion to all humans without judgment. That is the intention for today.
I love it. And my mantra is, I have the power to create change. And it goes back to your judgment. If I have the power to create change within myself, and that change is to be less judgmental until there's no judgment. But you know what? We're human. We're always going to have some type of judgment. So yeah. I have the power to create change. We all have that power to create change. And then as we're creating it, people adapt it. So guess what? As we're creating change in this bubble, this person's watching, so they're going to create one in that bubble. And before you know it, there's a whole bunch of fucking bubbles floating around creating change. And that's what we need. But I want to give a shout out to Exceptional Me Jewelry. This is an Exceptional Me jewelry bracelet. These are howlite beads, which I love. Necessities 101.
Oh, she's wearing everybody today. That's fabulous.
For the earring. Mm-hmm. This is exceptional too. And this is a beautiful piece that I bought on my honeymoon in Aruba 10 years ago.
Oh. I was going to say too that I really like what you're wearing today. Those are really great colors on you. Is that like a burgundy or purple?
No, this is a burgundy.
Yeah, it looks really nice. And the green.
Yes.
And then, your background is very nice. You look very nice. Very sort of boho, Polish,
Thank you.
Lovely. All right. So, okay. So one little thing that we do want to mention before we have our conversation. So, we're looking at, we have seven viewers. Hopefully there's more. But we're going to ask a favor of all of you. We really, really we were looking at our numbers yesterday, and we both will admit that we were a little disappointed as far as we really, really want to see higher views, so we're going to really have the tribe step up. And if you really like what we do, we want you to share. Some of you out there do all the time. And we're so grateful. I know Michelle does. We're so talking about it. And we so gratefully appreciate that. But, we really feel that we have something special. And, we've actually stepped it up this year and have started to really plan ahead. Like, we were sort of flying by the seat of our pants in the beginning and throughout most of 2020 because we couldn't seem to catch up to ourselves. But Gladiator Guru and I really put the pedal down, and we decided that, okay, no, we're going to do this. We're going to really make this what it is. So if you go onto the Facebook page, you will see in the events that we list everything that's coming up for, I think we've listed even into March. So all of February, most of March, if not all of March. And you could get an idea of what were the topics that we're going to be talking about, and you can share the events before they even happen. And, and remember too, that we are on YouTube. So that means that we will, these same events will show up on YouTube. So even if you let people know who don't have a Facebook account and say, hey, listen, you can watch this live on this day on YouTube, please get them to go check us out, because we've got really some very cool guests coming on the show, and we're stepping up. We are asking some real bigwig people to come on the show, and we're not doing it because we want ratings and we want followers. We're doing it because we're stepping up our conversation. We're looking beyond and saying, what can we give to the tribe that's really going to elevate them, and who can help elevate them? We're reaching out. So you're going to start seeing people come on that you've never met before, that you don't know, a lot of the people that we had coming on were in our circle of friends and family, which was great. And thankful that we had them start off because, that's who we had. Now, though, we want to give back to you so that you see and hear a very different perspective. And we really want you to take this information and apply with it, but we need your help too. You know what I feel like? I feel like this is, you ever watch like the PBS, when they do the PBS, where they're asking for money and they're out there talking about great programs on PBS and we need your donation. That's what I feel like we're doing right now. So we're not asking for you to donate money. We're just asking you to share stuff.
That was a good one. That was just that you just brought it down to that. That was good. So that.
Okay, so you
ready? It's a beautiful morning.
Okay,
that's right. No matter what we talk about, no matter if I get disrupted right now, but yeah, go ahead. I won't finish my song
because I went talking too much, and we really want, and we got to jump on this conversation because it's so great. So this is what we wanted to focus on. We didn't want to focus on so much diversity as it, what is it, how to bring it in, we want to talk about conversations that are uncomfortable, like things specifically. And that's the big focus of this week. So so this is what we came up with yesterday when we were having our call. Time for the uncomfortable conversations this week will be diving headfirst into topics that make people uncomfortable. Today's conversation on diversity. We're going to each define what we believe diversity to be, and then in our own words, and then we're going to read a definition that's, in the, that we got off the internet. Why does talking about diversity make people uncomfortable? And are there specific groups that are more uncomfortable with having these conversations? 2 specific focuses: proper wording. Okay, we don't know what to say, and topics we don't want to deal with because, and I'm going ahead of myself. Proper wording, what we don't know what to say, and then the topics that we don't want to deal with because they are too hard for us to acknowledge, like disparity, inequality, statistics, dehumanization. Okay, I'll let you talk because I've been talking so much, and go ahead and tell everybody what you feel diversity is.
Diversity. I just think, hold on, I wrote it down because I didn't want to get this wrong. What is diversity? I'm diverse. Like, to live in diversity, you have internal, external, you have organization, you have worldview. So my views on diversity is going to differ from the next person sitting next to me. I think that when we all come together collectively, we all have a view on it and what it should be. I'm Puerto Rican and Italian, and I was raised in the hood all my life. So you are a pretty little white girl raised in the nice area in your hometown. So it's like we can sit all day, agree.
Isn't that a discriminatory statement? No,
it probably is, but I'm being diverse in my explanation and in my word choices. I think that there's such a stigma on people getting like so offended when something is said. And I know you use that as an awareness right now, that little joke. I said it as an awareness, but there is such a stigma, like when you say you're kind or you're people. And so we get all twisted up like a salty pretzel. And then we want to spew venom at something that we really don't understand. So diversity, I think it should be like in all its inclusiveness. It's accepting each race, each culture, each individual for what and who they are, and accepting them as the person that we're dealing with, and not blaming them for bad apples in their whole entire race. So I think it's just an inclusiveness. Diversity is where everybody is accepted for who they are. That's what the diversity should be like, right? That's what they say when you look up diversity. What's yours?
I define diversity as just being different, that different cultures, different backgrounds. Diversity itself is just that. It's just differences. That's it. Diverse group of people, diverse group of anything, but with regards to people, diversity is just race, religion, culture,
Socioeconomics.
socioeconomic. Yeah. And that's all. That's what it is. And then you have to put onto it the celebrating diversity, because that's what we want to do. Is diversity means understanding, being aware of the fact, like you said, that we're different. According to the definition that I got off the internet, is the condition of having or being composed of differing elements, especially the inclusion of people of different races. Diversity, I have no problem talking about diversity. Like, I have no problem. I think I love culture. I love different cultures. So I look at other countries and I look at other people and religions, and I'm curious about that stuff. And I love that stuff. I think the uncomfortableness comes into play is that, and this is for me specifically, I'm going to say, I think we focus so much on diversity that we take away the pieces that are the same. And we put such a wedge, like, we're so busy celebrating each other's culture that we don't look at how alike we are. And then we get into, like you said, it's like we categorize. Like, we don't like the separation, but when the separation works, it works for us. And so I that's why I struggle with it. That's the uncomfortable conversation for me, is that I love diversity and I love celebrating it, but I think that we put a lot of emphasis on celebrating diversity, when I rather look at, like, how alike are we? Listen, I grew up in an Italian American family, both sides, and Italians have the guilt. And I thought it was just exclusive to my culture, and Catholic. So Italian and Catholic. I thought it was exclusive to my culture. Then I started having friends in other cultures and other religions. And I realized that my Jewish friends got a lot of guilt. My Puerto Rican friends got a lot of guilt. And I started to realize, oh, this is an exclusive. It's not just culture and religion. And so I started to realize, okay, yeah, I love the diversity. I love how different we are, but I also love how much alike we are. And so for me, the uncomfortable thing is the emphasis on the diversity. That's the part that makes me a little uncomfortable all the time.
I think, but it's, you said a mouthful, like loving all the cultures and from different countries, but diversity is it's so big. It's like the transgender, the alphabet, starting with the LB. So it's they need to be all inclusive as well. Like, we need to really look at everything and not pick and choose what we deem to be right or what we deem to be worthy. And I think that it goes back in time. It goes back when the Egyptians had the Jewish slaves building the pyramid. This goes back as far as when humans began. Michelle says you can't make a beautiful quilt when all the squares are the same. Absolutely, we're all different. Take myself, for instance. I'm biracial, bicultural. I come from an Italian mother and a Puerto Rican father. My mom's like pasty white, light eyes.
No, but say the real way you say it all the time.
Yeah, I am. And then my dad is of dark complexion, very Indian looking, jet black hair, and she was disowned by her family because my father, not only was he Puerto Rican, but he was a dark skinned Puerto Rican. So, but we were raised to embrace both. So, I'm biracial, definitely I'm bicultural, because the traditions were different. The foods were different. The religion was different, the Catholics and then the Christianity. So when people say, oh, well, I say I'm biracial, bicultural, which makes me definitely bipolar. So I'm bi all the way. But I embrace both cultures. I'm very proud of it. When people ask, where's your nationality, I always say I am Boricua Italiana, Puerto Rican and Italian. I love it. And I was raised speaking Spanglish, and I learned to read and write it because I chose to learn how to read and write it, not because they imposed it on me. So I mean, again, it's how you choose to look at the world. Is what do you want to accept? Do you accept yourselves? I don't care if you're just Puerto Rican, if you're just Black, if you're just Chinese, it doesn't matter. Do you accept yourself? If once you can accept yourself, then you can accept all walks of life. And when somebody wrongs you, it's that person, not the whole race, not the whole culture. And I think that's what's wrong with this world. What do you think, Buddha?
Well, again, I mean, I think it's that when we build a wedge, like I think diversity was definitely important because we needed, I mean, and I'm coming from a white person. It was too white. I mean, it was like a vanilla cookie sprinkled with all kinds of colors. And, and that's, we need to educate ourselves. We need to know these different backgrounds. It's important, but I feel like I'm at a point for me that the more we celebrate it, the more we separate. And so it's like, then we get like hell bent on like specific things. And then that's where the uncomfortable part comes in. What are we supposed to say? What are we not supposed to say? And it changes a lot too. It's like, look, can I use that word? Am I not supposed to use that word? I don't even know, and I think especially as a white person, I think that it is very uncomfortable because and again, we were talking about this. See, it's even hard for me to even get this out. You and I were talking about this, and we're saying that, and I'm not even answering your question, I don't think, because I've like totally gone in another.
That's fine. That's fine.
A lot of times I know me, and nobody else knows me except me. You might know me a little bit, but I know me. And I know who I like and who I don't like. So we were talking about this yesterday. I'm not a person who judges by a color or a religion or a culture. I'm fascinated by all that. I judge whether or not you're a nice person. I discriminate against assholes. That's what I discriminate against. And I don't even say it to be funny. I mean, I say it to be funny partially, but that's true. The truth. Assholes come in all colors. They come in all backgrounds, all cultures, all religions. And so for me, that's the piece that so I use cultural differences, racial differences, skin color differences as a means of description. And even then, I'm afraid to do that as a white person because is that individual going to take it wrong? But I hear people, like people of color, people of certain cultures, use certain words on themselves and other groups and not feel uncomfortable with it. But as a white person, I feel uncomfortable. Now, is that me personally? Is that a guilt for me? I don't feel like it is just me, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are very, like I remember one time we were driving and we were in the car with my now 17-year-old. She was 5 at the time. And her dad and I were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about. And then he commented on the person that was standing on the corner, and he, they were African-American, and he said Black. And she goes, she's quiet, like she wasn't saying anything. And he said something, and all of a sudden she goes, what black person? And her dad's like, the person on the corner. And she goes, he's not Black, he's brown. And I just sat there and I'm like, she was looking at it literally, not as the categorization that we use when it comes to categorizing people. It's just like saying we're white. Well, we're kind of peachy. Some of us are yellow. I don't know. We're all kinds of weird shades. So, but I just thought that was such insight. She was literally she was saying it as a descriptive term. But anyway, so I'm sorry, I'm rambling. So I don't know. You want to?
No, well, I understand. Like, it depends where you come from. Like, things you can and cannot say. My mom's, a pasty white Italian. And, my husband who passed away was Black. So when he was going to go to Connecticut to meet her, she's like, I don't know what to make for him. And I said, well, I don't know, ask him. And then she gets on the phone and she's like, what do you want me to make you? Fried chicken. And because I know, and then she used the expression colored. And I said, Ma, you don't use that anymore. And he cracked up, of course. And so, yeah, there's so many words change. And then people feel uncomfortable if you don't use it as much. And then her being older. And the perception that we have of different races. Now, my mom, like I'm telling you, my dad was dark skinned, but he was Puerto Rican. So then you see other dark skinned people, and then they don't know. They don't know what's the norm of what to say. So I'd say strike up a conversation. We need to. It all goes back to, like Diana Negron reiterated what I said. If you love yourself and your culture, like I love being Puerto Rican. I've learned all my history of Puerto Rico, going back to when Spain took its military out, and 7 days later, Americans came in and raped us through Guanica. I can tell you all that history because I loved it and I wanted to learn it. So if you love yourself and you love your culture and you value your traditions and you pass it on to your children and you keep it alive that way, then you will learn how to appreciate and honor other traditions and other races. It's that simple. Like when you travel and you meet people from all over the world, they'll look at you. To look at you, maybe they think one thing, and then once you start speaking, because I've had that experience, people thought that I was like white or whatever. Then when I started speaking, they're like, oh, that accent or whatever the case may be. Somebody in Spain said he thought I was American when I was talking to this man from Maine. And once I started speaking, he was like, oh, I hope she never speaks to me again. He said I sounded like Sofia Vergara from Modern Family, but he meant with a thick accent. And I was like, I don't have an accent like that. But even throughout walking through Spain, meeting people from all over the world, it was fascinating. You learn certain traditions of how their love of God in any language is just so solid. And if we look at what we have in common as to how different our hair texture and our skin looks, we would make a better world. We would enrich ourselves by learning so much more from one another. And
go ahead, finish.
I say, will that ever change as a whole collective of the people in the world? Maybe not. But I think if each of us decide to learn something about another culture and appreciate it, I think, one step at a time, because we all have the power to create change. And I think I'm sure if we all come together here, it's because we all share the same love of humanity. We all want to learn how to be better people. And if you want to learn to be a better person, it's because you want to share that beauty with all walks of life that come your way. So I commend all of you for that. And I think that that's how we have to do. We just have to preach. I mean, how many differences are there in Puerto Rico? You have the white, blue-eyed, blonde hair. You go to Luis Aldea and the other side near San Juan. And then you have the crispy black with the little raisin heads that they're straight descendants from when the slaves were free. They went to that area. So you have a whole rainbow of color in Puerto Rico. It's like the poet said, I am not African. African lives in me. I am not Taino, but Taino lives within me. I am not European, but Europe lives within me. I am Puerto Rico. And all three make me. So you see, and I know Puerto Ricans who are adamant that they do not have African blood or European blood coursing through their veins. And I'm like, the ingredient of a perfect Puerto Rican is Europe, Africa, and Arawak. And so, I mean, there's some people who won't even embrace their own roots, their own bloodline. So how they can accept others? But I think we all have to find that that, what is it that you say that I love? That shift and flow. And just
Yeah.
know that, you know what? No one's going to take from me, but they can add to me, as I cannot take from you, but I can add the riches to you about my culture. So let's just.
I love what Anitza wrote. She wrote, my husband was Turkish and Margie's mom would ask me, you still with that Hindu? But you see what I mean? And even still, like, okay, I think this is where the pieces come in. Like if she was married to another like a Latino man, if she was married to a Latino man, would she have said, "Are you still with that Latino?" If it's like, if it's a white person is with a white person, are you still with that white person? They don't say that, but they will always throw out the difference when they need to emphasize, you still with that Hindu guy? And the funny part is he wasn't even, and it's like,
But it's the miseducation. It's the lack of education, the lack of
But
going
no,
out
not
there.
necessarily, because see, I don't agree with you there, because
For my mom, it is. For my
yes,
mom,
with absolutely. In that case, yes, but there's plenty of educated people that will still throw out. I think that's the piece that sucks.
Because they believe the whole hype about 9/11. So
No, I don't mean that. I'm saying in general, whenever people are pissed off, they've got to throw out the race or the religion or and see, that's the part that I can't stand. I can't, like, all of a sudden you're going to throw out that, oh, you're an effing white person. It's like, I was like 10 minutes ago when we were talking, when you weren't mad at me. And like, now that's what you're throwing out to me, or even woman. Woman, the term woman is often used in an insulting manner when they want to use it like that. And so I think that's the part that really, so I'm going to ask this question. If you are, for those that are listening, if you are African American, what are you comfortable with being called? Do you prefer to be called African American? Are you okay with being called Black? Who's it coming from? Like, is it more okay for Gladiator Guru to call somebody who's African American Black more than me because I'm white? I don't mind being called a white person. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm white. I'm fine with that. It really doesn't. And then sometimes I get slapped for that, because it's said that, oh, well, that's because, white people, you don't care about being white because white people were the superior race. I'm not part of that. Like, I'm not part of superior. I'm just what I am. I mean, I'm Italian on both sides, and I got one side that's real light skin Italian, blonde, blue eyes. I have another that's dark skin, dark hair, dark brown eyes, and I'm just kind of mishmash in between, and my kids are half Puerto Rican. So, we have diversity around us now, especially, which I'm thrilled, but anyway, I don't know. I'm rambling again.
No, totally. Diana says they're throwing low blows. Ana Laura says that she educates all the time. Ignorance is a real thing, most definitely. And I think that it's just a fear of not knowing something different. And I think that's what holds a lot of people back. They unsure. They look different. How about me when I go out to Walmart with my diamonds on and my sarange tied around, and I walk in like the Queen of Sheba? So they're looking at me like, what's wrong with her? Does she leave an asylum, or look at her? Who does she think she is? But I don't care. So that part doesn't bother me. But the people who are not used to you or are unfamiliar with you, they get frightened, and then the judgments come in. And I think that's across the board in all races. I think that when you're unsure of something, when you fear it, and the fear is real, and then you start judging, criticizing, downing. I think it happens. I never get mad. My grandma used to say, don't bring no one home blacker than her. Yeah, and that's the old.
And her mom was darker than anyone from the Congo.
Yes, my great grandmother. Oh, Maron, we heard stories. Kimberly, I'm so happy you're COVID free. and you're at work. That's a
Yay.
blessing. That's beautiful.
You know, the other thing that we can talk about here too is that, because you and I were talking about this yesterday, is that even acknowledge, like, why do we avoid conversations? Why do we not like to talk about this? Okay, so diversity is one piece specifically with regards to, race, culture, religion. What about diversity as far as socioeconomic disparity? We avoid those conversations partially because, well, actually, the main reason is because we're terribly uncomfortable with them, because we don't want to even know that they exist. We don't really want to pay attention. We categorize and we say, like, Gladiator Guru and I were talking yesterday about the fact, like, we're talking about lower socioeconomic levels. And there's this idea, okay, so inner city, low income, these groups of people. Now, I lived down south for years, and I lived in an area that was very white. I also lived in an area that was very mixed, and I saw poor across the board. I was poor. I mean, when I lived down there, I was poor. I mean, I was going to school and then I stayed down there to start a practice, and I was poor. Like, I had very little money. I lived in a house in a neighborhood that was very poor. I saw people in trailers, white people. I saw people that I took hikes that in areas where people had no running water. They had to go to a thing on the outside. They had no electricity. So all of that, we don't like to talk about that. We because that makes us uncomfortable, because we have to face certain things. And then when we do want to talk about it, we have an opinion on it. Oh, well, they're like this because this was their choice. This was, and then we don't have the right information a lot of times either. So education, who was it that said that? Was that Ana Laura, right? So she said educating people is a big thing.
Most definitely. And then Tiffany Bryan said she's a female person of color, and I've been called colored, Black, and African American. I'm a human being that should be respected, and I will respect you as well. Point blank, period, Tiffany. Point blank, period. We can put as many labels on ourselves as we label other people that we are not familiar with. My thing is that I tell people, just because a Puerto Rican wronged you, we're not all the same. Because a Black person wronged you, they're not all the same. If a Chinese person cut you off and caused an accident, they're not all bad drivers. Like, cut this shit already. And
yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, and just focus on what happened and the person that it happened.
If the person did something wrong, why do you have to point out their color, their race? I mean, there's their culture or their religion. It drives me absolutely freaking crazy. Asshole is asshole. That's always how I look at it. You are an asshole. I've been around a lot of them, and they're all different. I'm telling you, all colors, all sizes, all genders, whatever. I'm going to ask Tiffany Bryan something specific. So, I remember years ago, I used the term African American. If like in conversation, I remember having a conversation. It was a conversation with an individual, and I used the term African American, and they actually got mad at me, because then they said to me, "I'm not African. I'm not from Africa. My family's not from Africa. They're Caribbean." And I was just like, I didn't throw up my hands, but in my head, I'm going, oh my God, I can't win. Like it wasn't that I was pointing something out. There was a legit conversation going on that came out. But I was just like, oh, I mean, I'm sorry. Like I got educated, and I was like, okay, you're right. It's like, you could be African American, you could be Caribbean American. But it's like, I felt very vulnerable at that point, because I felt like I couldn't win no matter what I was saying. And I wasn't allowed to, and because the person got annoyed, like I didn't know the difference. And I'm thinking in my head, I don't know how I would have, So I've learned to just, Tiffany's right. Tiffany's saying I am a female person of color. I have to say, that is my favorite way of saying it. Person of color. And with that, I'm going to say something. Years ago, I was watching a comedian of color, and he was talking about, he was so funny, and I wish I remember his name. This was years ago, and he said, white people always say that we're colored people. He goes, what's funny? He goes, it's not true. He goes, it's not true at all. He goes, here's what I mean. He goes, if you're white and you're cold, what color are you? You're blue. He says, if you're white and you're sick, what color are you? You're green. He goes, if a white person gets embarrassed, they get red. He said, now, if a black person gets embarrassed, they're black. If a black person gets sick, they're black. If a black person gets cold, they're black. He goes, now who's the colored person? And I thought that was so brilliant. I'm like, oh, touche, But anyway, I like that. It's more inclusive in a way, because the people are, and you don't know what their background is. We keep categorizing people. A person of color, plus it sounds regal, I think. Doesn't it kind of sound like this, like very, I think it sounds pretty cool. Am I uncomfortable about saying that? Like, should I be uncomfortable about saying that? Am I wrong? Am I not? Oh, we can't hear you, Gladiator Guru. You're on mute.
I said, as long as you're coming from a place of love, that shouldn't be, you shouldn't second guess yourself, because you're not saying it with any malice.
Yeah, I do.
You're going to run into assholes. They're going to say, oh, don't call me a person of color. Look at, you're white and blah, blah. So you're going to run into those kind of people. But it's like what we teach. If you honor who you are, if you're coming from a place of love, you're going to get misinterpreted by people who are confused about who the hell they are. And I think when you approach people with respect as a human, like, hey, girl, what's up? Blah, blah. You don't see color. You don't see.
Right. And that's what Ana Laura's actually, she said, do we call people by the color of their skin or where they are from? No. I mean, I think it's more descript. I think it's just describing, like that's it. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. Like if a person of color is speaking and saying, oh, there's two people talking over there, one of them's white, and they say, oh, the white person is talking, I think it's just a script. I don't take any offense to that whatsoever. Or, oh, that Latino person is talking. That's what it is. And if they knew I was Italian, it's, oh, that Italian chick is talking.
Well, and you know what? And Ana knows this. Let's say we are having a conversation, Ana Laura and I, and we're talking about Maria. And collectively, we know 6 Marias. Because how common is that name in a Latino family, right? So what do? When we're talking about Maria, we're going to say Maria la Dominicana. Maria from New York.
Maria la Flaca.
La Flaca. Maria, the one with the 6 kids. That's how we, and Ana, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's how we do. We define a Maria, but it's with love, because we're talking about Marias. So yeah, we got to identify which one it is, and that's how we see it, but we're not criticizing them, or Maria's coming by to pick up some product from me. Oh yeah, which one, Maria? I needed to talk to her. No, not that one. Maria la Flaca, Maria la Dominicana is coming. Oh, okay. So there's nothing wrong, because it comes from a place of love, and it comes from a place of understanding, and there's no malice. So when there's no malice attached to the person you're describing or who you're going to talk about, then guess what happens? It's Maria la Dominicana. It's Maria la Gorda.
Yes.
So I just think, treat each other. I love people. I love meeting people from all walks of life and sitting down and listening to their stories. What better gift do we get than to sit across from somebody who's lived in a whole other part of the world than we ever know, and just have a conversation? It doesn't matter the color of flesh, we bleed the same. So, and I think being like, we'll put on our resumes, work with a diverse population. I mean, we put that on resumes. Ana, we both worked at Career Resources. We actually tell people, have you, where you work, put that you work with a diverse population, because then that means, different attitudes, which is very stupid. But I just think that if you approach everything, like I was telling the Badass Buddha yesterday, how when I met Eric and no one really knew about us, there was this guy that kept trying to invite me out to the movies and invite me out. And, he just wanted a piece of ass, and we all worked together. And I was like, no, like, you need to stop. And then once we were in front of people, I guess my staff, and he's like, it's just because you're racist. And I looked at him, and he was light. He was a black man who was lighter skin tone than my husband was. And I looked at him, I said, you don't even know what you're talking about. Because I didn't feel like I had to defend myself. That's what you think about me. That's your thought. That's your gig. So then when it came out with Eric, they all were like, oh my God, he actually apologized to me after the fact that he found out with Eric and everything. But it's just, people have assumptions. So before you get angry with somebody for saying something wrong, find out, because maybe that's all they know. And then here we are upset that they said that about us, not knowing that they really don't know. So that's your moment to educate somebody on a pivotal subject that will follow him and you, and then you're teaching him how to handle going forward. Like, what better teacher is that than the teacher of humanity?
And speaking of teaching, we really need to applaud the crew the tribe for really creating a great conversation here, because you guys are also teaching. So I want to point out a few things here. So let's see. Anna says, but we good with that, but other races get so offended. Or like Edita says, or Tricia la Prietita. I got raised. So Anna says, I got raised being called La Negrita. I come to Connecticut and that is wrong. And she put LOL. Edita says, I had to teach Trisha Hunter. It was a term of endearment. Francia writes, Maria la Negra, in my country, Colombia, walk around proud being called La Negra. And then Tiffany says, I've been labeled for my size, my color, for being a female. But again, you shouldn't judge me. Just respect me. I would like to applaud you for having this conversation. Respect starts with a simple conversation. And that's the whole point. It's the conversations are difficult and they don't need to be. Part of it is that we get very sensitive. Certain, people get sensitive about the conversation. Other people get uncomfortable because they don't want to be labeled as an individual who's like racist or prejudiced. Like again, on my end of it, and I can only speak for me, that I don't like when people accuse me of being that way. You're this or you're that, because that I'm not. Do I screw up sometimes and put my foot in my mouth and say something? I think I do. I'll admit I do. And I think a lot of people do. So for me to say that I do it and then somebody say, well, I don't do that, I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
But it's never intentional. And I would never sit there and yell at somebody that I'm mad at and yell out their color or their religion, like assuming that that's part of the insult. I think that's bullshit. I can't stand when people do that.
Let me tell you something. I don't call me anything but fat. And I hope you mean pretty hot and tempting, because I have a very huge sexual aura. But let me tell you something. Just I was raised with my dark-skinned father, my pasty white mother, and Father Panic Village. So we had to fight our way through because we were like, they didn't know what we were at first. But then, we gained our street cred. And then we grew up, and it didn't matter because my father's family, as Aritza as a part of it, we come in, there is a rainbow of color. So we all fit in just fine. And so, here when I met my husband, and then I met his family, let me just tell you some of the names. I was called the Chica. I was called the Poppy. Oh, you with the Poppy? They'll cut you. You can't play your game because they'll cut you. But I think the funniest thing.
Well, they weren't wrong, really.
They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
About you specifically.
But they said Chica because a lot of they call Cubans here in Florida like the Chicos and stuff. So I had to correct them on that. If you're going to call me a nickname that's comfortable for you, just make sure you're referring to Puerto Ricans. And then they lost me. But I think the funniest part was when my mother-in-law referred to me as a sand nigga. She's like, you Puerto Rican, you Spanish people are just sand niggas. So I was like, okay. But it doesn't bother me. I think what bothers me the most that will bother me and put me in a bad place is if you keep calling me Margarita. Now we're going to have some issues and complications.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I value being both my races. I value being raised in America. If anybody owns my book, just go back to the poem American Woman. It makes it very clear. It's, you know what, value who you are, love who you are, understand who you are, and then all the little stupidity and the lack of knowledge and just the plain old ignorance will just, you know what, it'll slither right off you, because you are solid in who you are and what you love, and you can correct somebody. Say, you know what, I don't appreciate that. When somebody says, oh, Margarita, I say Margarita. But like Margarita, I'm like, it's Margarita. And blah, 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 Margarita. I said, listen, I done corrected you twice. The name is Margarita. They don't know what to say. So guess what they do? Miss Chapman, there you go.
Yeah, and so I'm going to call out. I'm not going to say the name, but we were on interviewing somebody to be a guest, and I'll say, like, a lot of white people have trouble saying the name. They just, some of it is just embarrassing. They just really are fearful about using the rolling R, and then other times they just don't want to. They just refuse. And so we were interviewing this person, and she said it. She's writing her name down, and she said Margarita, and then Margarita corrects her, and she goes to say it, but then she made like a laugh afterwards, like as she said it. And I sat there myself. Now I'm observing this, right? And I sat there myself because we were on a Zoom call. After our call, the first thing out of my mouth was, I didn't really care for the fact that I think she made fun of your name. Well, oh no, and then she made reference to the drink, and she kept kind of said it a couple of times, and Margarita, Gladiator Guru, corrected her. And even with that, and I was off put. I was the one. Gladiator Guru didn't really say much about it until I brought it up, but I was just like, I didn't care for that. I felt like as if when you corrected this person, that she was
laughed.
like laughing a little bit about the fact that she needed to say it that way.
Yeah,
like, this is your effing name. You have the right to say it. Like, I'm a stickler with names. I always want to know the way you pronounce your name. I have friends that are from India. I love saying Indian names, and they'll say their name, or from China or from Japan. And I'll say, no, but how do you really say it? Oh, and then they'll say it, and I'll say, okay, say it slower, because I love pronouncing the name correctly. And I'll get trumped up. The rolling R's, I'll admit, they're a little challenging for me. But
I tell people, you know, it's good tongue exercise for male and females. Just use my name to exercise that tongue. Get better at it. Margarita. But yeah, she did. She like chuckled because when I corrected her, and she's like, either way, it's still a drink. And I said, no. And I chuckled because I was about to go off on her, but I had just entered late on the call. And you saw me. I said, no, I'm a flower. I'm a flower. And then she stopped right there. Like, so yeah.
Yep. And one last thing too, I want to say, I know we're going long on this, and it was because I was talking so much before about other stuff, so we got started late, and it is a great topic. We talked a lot today about race, a little bit about religion and culture, but it is about education. And I got called out one time, a few years back. I just started having individuals that were changing gender in my classes, and it was all new. And again, I don't judge. If that's your choice, if that's that's fine. If whatever you want, I'm accepting. You just tell me what you want to be called, right? So this one, I had one individual in my class who went from female to male. He was awesome. I didn't say anything. I mean, I just knew because of the background. And it was fine. We had, nothing. Okay. It was just, he was a student. That was it. Then like a year later, I had another student who was going male to female, but there was so much question. They had a very generic name. They were very generically dressed, and I didn't know. I honestly, truly didn't know what gender they were. Not that it mattered. Again, I didn't care. until the person started getting annoyed with me and actually got annoyed with another teacher more so because the teacher wasn't referring to her correctly. And then and then we started the conversation in my class about it. So we brought the conversation in, and I made the mistake of saying, I've been around transgenders, and she immediately corrected me and she said, that's not the word you say, transgender people. And I was grateful for it. I was grateful that she told me, corrected me. And it was, the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, yes, I could see where that would be insulting for sure, because so now I know. But if I continued to use it, that's different. If I know, right? What is the expression that Maya Angelou says, right? You do better. You do better. You do good until you know better, and when you know better, you do better. Or you do the best you can. I'm sorry. You do the best you can until you know better, and when you know better, you do better. And that's the whole point of this. The whole point is that these uncomfortable conversations have to happen. We can't get mad on either side at the other person unless they know better and they're choosing not to do better.
Well, yeah, but getting mad too, it disrupts your process. Karen, Francia still gets corrected. Francia is Colombiana. It's her first language, Spanish, and she'll still say my name wrong. But, she says, teach your kids to respect everyone and feelings, not just theirs. Yes, perfect. Luis said, que rico. Luis. And Karen said it sounded like the other person was embarrassed when she was corrected. I feel that if ever you're corrected, I was not rude. She said, oh, Margarita. And I said, it's Margarita. And I didn't even go Margarita. I just said it's Margarita. So I don't, when I correct
it wasn't. I just want to jump in. Who said that they thought that
Karen, but I feel that
Karen Marie, it wasn't that, because I was paying attention to it, and it wasn't an embarrassed laugh. It was more of a annoyed laugh, because I was the viewer, and then when I brought it up to Gladiator Guru after, she said that's what she felt too. So yeah, I get what you're saying. It definitely, like, it wasn't, oh, I'm sorry, because actually she didn't even say that. She didn't say it. It was an annoyed laugh. Like, you got to be kidding
me. Like, they don't want to get corrected. Like, they don't want to say my name the way it's supposed to be. My name is not Margarita, and I correct every single person who says it wrong, because before people meet me, they hear my name. If you cannot respect my name before I come in, it's going to be kind of hard. So I say it. Let's start from jump. My name is, hey. And if you don't know how to say it, you know what, then call me Margie. But at least don't think it's okay to just say, well, I'm not going to learn that. I'm Spanish, because then, you know what? But I am Margarita. So as far as you associating with me, you will say my name right, or we really don't have a conversation to do, because that's total disrespect when it comes to me. Yeah. So yeah, that was it. So, oh my God, this show was great.
Yes, and thanks for staying on, for those that did, and we appreciate it. And for on Thursday, because we'll have the guest, we're going to make sure that we keep everything, or I'm going to make sure I keep everything short. And so we'll just do our quick announcements, and then we'll jump right in, because especially with having a guest, it's going to be an incredible topic. And you, again, all of you made this a great conversation. This is what we're talking about. We have to have these conversations, and we have to have them more often than not. And this is the platform to do it, because we say anything, and we want you to feel comfortable with that. And everybody needs to know there's a disclaimer on our description that says, this is not a conversation for kids, for sure. And, it's raw and it's real, and we're proud of that fact. So thank you so much for
everything. And for everybody who commented, I am she, her, hers. Absolutely. Iritza, Karen Marie, Lewis, Kimberly. I mean, Desiree. There's so many of you, and we're so grateful that you come on, and thank you for even taking the time. Ana Laura, I'm so happy, mamita, that you came on. I mean, I love you all. That's what this is. It's about love. It's about finding peace while we're making changes. And sometimes it gets dirty. It gets raw. It gets all uncomfortable before we make it right. So let's make it right as a tribe. And thank you. And we'll see you on Thursday. So go ahead.
Thursday. Yep. So everybody, thanks so much. And remember, from the Badass Buddha. Be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And in those moments, learn to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.